my goal is never to have an adrenaline rush. When I get the rush, I know I've done something wrong. And I don't want to be that close to death. And I don't like terror. I don't like adrenaline. I want to be calm and controlled.
Aviation, right? And being up in the sky and being a pilot and all these different things, seems like it's been this journey of yours, and even racing and being on the racetrack and this interest with mechanics. It's not something that everyone can relate to, but it's something that I was really inspired when I heard your story, because I can tell that it's just such a passion of yours. I'd love for you to maybe kick things off. Like, how did you get into this, and why do you enjoy it so much? Why is it such a passion of yours?
Yeah, sure. I think at the heart of all of it is that I'm addicted to anything that goes vroom. And that's part of why I'm so incredibly torn on electric vehicles, because I miss the noise. But I love things that go fast. I've always felt most secure and most safe when I'm behind the controls of something that's bigger than myself. And I think that a big part of that ties back into my childhood journey. We can dive into the bullying or the abuse or the different challenges that we struggle with I struggle with as a child. But when I started flying, it became very quickly apparent to me that the greater perspective that you gain by seeing the world below you fall away, the astronauts call it the overlook effect. It's this a moment where you recognize how infinitely small you are in the universe, and thus how small your problems are, and how small your challenges are, and how small your wins are. Even just that depth of perception that really, I think, is super imperative for humans to do something that's bigger than themselves and to start to kind of become the master of their own universe in that way. For me, flying was where I felt safest. It's where I felt most at home. I was born into an aviation family. My grandfather flew in World War II. And then in the 50s, he built a runway on his property, which is the property I was born on. I was born at home. So 100 yards from a runway, I come out, and 3 years later, I'm in the air. And after that, I knew what I wanted for the rest of my life. I wanted to fly. I wanted to own airplanes. I discovered that ultralights, which are aircraft under 254 pounds, aren't technically aircraft, and thus you don't have to be 16 years old to fly one. So I would think I was 7 or 8 years old. I was working in my grandparents' restaurant, and I was like, I'm going to buy an ultralight. My grandfather, who is a world record holder for the first guy to do a barrel roll and a loop in a gyrocopter, I'll send you guys videos later. It's crazy. Told me, don't buy one of those. It'll kill you. Mind you, he crashed his gyro 12 times during my lifetime, totaled it 6 times, lost his hand to it. But he said the ultralights are going to kill me. So I did get an ultralights, got into flying, bought my first airplane kit when I was 13, and just quickly discovered that ADHD kids shouldn't build airplanes. It's just not in our DNA. And so I put it up for sale on this new thing called the internet. It's back in 1999, and I sold it. And the guy I bought it from was like, man, I got a bunch. If you want to help me sell them, I'll give you 10%. And I said, make it 20. And that's how my first real, quote unquote, real company was born. Before that, I did things like Shine Shoes and tour guide, and, but that was my first real business. And that carried me along until I broke my back 2 weeks before my 18th birthday test flying an airplane, and took some time off of aviation to pursue safer hobbies. I'd never broken a bone before, and I got into motorcycle racing and surfing, and proceeded to break over 30 bones in the next 3 years, and went back to aviation where it was safer. So there's your very long-winded answer to how I got involved in flight.
So you, if I heard you right, you broke your back and you said, let me go to motorcycle riding. Let me go to race cars. And yeah. So,
well, in theory, it sounds safer. And I've never been hurt on a track, knock on wood. I have had more than my fair share of accidents off track. Deals Gap in Tennessee and North Carolina border. I crashed 5 times in one day. It's a good day.
What I find interesting, Eric, you and I had a conversation in Austin. We're at the dinner, and I asked you, like, what are the feelings that you have, like, when you're going through this? Is it an adrenaline rush? Is that the addiction? Is the addiction like, oh my God, I feel like this burst of energy every time I do it? And I thought your response was pretty unique. Well, it doesn't matter how I remember it, but what would be your response to that now?
I don't get adrenaline rushes unless blue lights come on behind me. I very rarely do I get a high from an action that I've done. I mean, there's some things with my wife you might bring up, but aside from that, I've always been, I have a lot of energy, but my energy is pretty much level. I don't have these crazy high endorphin hits from skydiving or racing cars or anything. There are certainly times when you almost lose it. Yeah, you get that. But my goal is never to have an adrenaline rush. I have plenty of friends who are adrenaline junkies. My little sister was the queen of them all. It still is. And she loves that boost, that rush. when I get the rush, I know I've done something wrong. And I don't want to be that close to death. I was having a conversation earlier this morning with another front row dad, actually, and a longer form conversation than I'll bring up now. But I had the question asked of me recently. It said, do you value birthdays? And I've never had that question asked of me before. I just had my 37th birthday last month, and I really do value birthdays. I don't care about a birthday party or getting gifts or anything like that, but I realize that I deeply care about birthdays because at this point in a front row dads, we have a saying, as you guys know, bonus time, which I think is the goofiest saying ever. But I feel like I'm living in bonus time. If you told me in my teens and 20s that I was going to live to my mid late 30s, I would have thought you were crazy, because I had so many experiences that were right at the edge of that adrenaline or that terror. And I don't like terror. I don't like adrenaline. I want to be calm and controlled. And I was sharing with some people recently. If you really knew me, you'd know that I'm the most risk adverse person on the planet. I look crazy as hell from the outside, but like I'm super cautious and very like meticulous. I work my way up to things very slowly to make sure that I don't get that adrenaline rush, because that adrenaline rush means I did something wrong.